As always, be comfortable with the operation of your equipment. Know, understand, and follow all the safety directions, and don't do something just because you saw a guy on the internet do it.
Hi, this is Billy McCord and welcome back to Recycled Creations. Today I'll be setting up a proper office in my house. I've been here about 2.5 years. I moved in and set up my big desk but have really never utilized this space very well. And today I'm going to try to get things organized, and the main project will be mounting a couple of monitors on this back wall. I'll be using this credenza back here as my main editing station, and I need some more productivity in that area, so stick around as I show you how to accomplish that project. So the next step in this process is basically to figure out if you have all the hardware you need assembled. The first thing I do is I open up the blister pack that comes with these mounts, and I'm using a 10 to 24 inch mount I purchased at the local electronics supply store, and these things come with a whole bunch of hardware blister packed together. Essentially that's because there's a bunch of different styles of threads, sizes, and so forth on the back of these monitors. So I always cut these open, dump them out, and find the ones that fit and test fit each one of them. The mount looks something like this. This particular model swivels side to side as well as up and down. Let me get the other one that's a little looser. Loosened it up. So they swivel up and down this way and slightly side to side. This will allow you to adjust the pitch of the monitor once it's on the wall. The next thing I always do is go ahead and take the wall mounting plate off of the back of the monitor mount and go on and finger tight the screws to hold it in. There's usually a marking on the mount itself that explains which end is up. And I doubt you can see that on camera, but there's a little arrow here pointing up. So you definitely want to pay attention to that orientation. The other thing that I did was I disassembled the monitor and took the mount stand off the back, off the bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this on here and tighten it down, at least finger tight. And then I'll do that to the second monitor, which is sitting here just off the main camera. You can probably see it on the second angle. And I won't bore you with the details, but essentially you just screw these down with, don't use a screw gun, just use a regular screwdriver. And so basically, like I was saying before, want to get these snugged up and don't use a screw gun. We're going to just run these down with a screwdriver. They're not that long. There's usually 2 or 3 different lengths of screw that fits each monitor as well, and you want to be careful to pick one that threads deep enough to get pick up several threads in the sheet metal piece that's in the back of the monitor to support the weight right. If it's just catching on a half a thread or 1 thread or something like that, use a set of the longer screws that come with the kit. But you don't want them to be too long until they protrude and hit any electronics or anything in there. So look at it and try to judge that as best you can. So the next step is I'll do that on this second monitor, and then I'll lay them down here on the desk and take a couple of measurements. Before I started, I actually put a cover on the desk so that it would keep from marring either the monitors or the desk surface. So out in the shop off camera, I cut this little scrap. It's actually ended up being particle board instead of plywood, but this will be suitable. It won't show anyway behind the monitors. And I found the center line, by measuring, and I've got that lined up on the center of the 2 monitors. And then I'm just going to take a speed square and line that up just like so along the edge of the bracket and make a mark where the bracket falls on the needs to fall on the piece of wood. Once I do this, then I can lay it down flat, lay the other little wall brackets on here, and mark them. Now that the lines are drawn on here that match up to the inside edges, I can just put the brackets on here, index them against the edge of the board, and mark the holes. So for hardware, for screws on this, I'm going to use some little panhead Phillips screws. These are about a 1/2 inch, I believe, and they won't stick all the way through the surface. And then to secure the plank to the wall, I'm going to use these, I believe, 2.5 inch Spax wood screws. Shouldn't pop through this, but I'm going to scoot it off the edge of the desk just to make sure. Okay. So the next step is I'm going to go ahead and screw these down. I've got the holes pre-drilled. I'll line the brackets up with the holes, use my screw gun to fasten the bracket down with some 1/2 inch screws. Okay, now that we've got both brackets mounted, I can do a test fit. And it looks like I'm nice and even across the top here and the bottom. I put a speed square here up against the wall, and I've got it lined up with a center mark on the desk. That'll allow me to take a measurement with the monitor as to how high I want the monitor to sit from the desk height. And in this case, it looks like about 6 inches is about right. So, taking that measurement and adding to it the measurement from the bottom edge of the monitor to the top edge of the bracket, and it's 9.5 inches. So that means 15.5 inches to the top of this board, since the top of these brackets equal the top of this bracket. So taking our 15.5 inch measurement, staying on the center line, I'm going to make a little mark, and that will be the height of our board. I've got our height determined. I know where the center of the plank is. I've got a single Spax screw ready to go, and I'm not even worried about hitting the stud right now. I'm just going to center the board up, tack it to the wall with a single screw, and then my goal is to level up the brackets, not the board, but the brackets. Even though we index these brackets off of the top of the board, and they should be really close to straight, we still want to make sure that we use the brackets themselves to level it in case there's any variance in those. I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill a hole here, just because particle board tends to be hard to start a screw in. So now I'm going to take a level and put on our brackets right on the top of the brackets, and we're going to level up the board. And it turns out that the board is actually pretty level as well, but we're going to make sure that we stay level on the brackets and not just the board. Alright, now that we're in good shape there, I can take my stud finder and find a stud and make sure that I at least pick up at least one stud and hopefully a couple across here with some of these longer screws, and that'll be sure and carry the weight of the system. We're going to do a test fit here and see how our monitors look. Okay, so after tweaking the location of the brackets slightly, I got both of them to fit, and now I have one solid panel of monitor across here. So I wrapped up the project, got the PC all hooked up, and got everything working, webcam tested and so forth, and I think it's pretty much ready to go. Hopefully you enjoyed this project. Tune back in to Recycle Creations for new build projects and home improvement projects. As always, please click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this project. Thanks for watching.